Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari. Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari. Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tira Pavanachari. Yamuna Tira Pavanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Shri Radhe. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Vriva Jakacharya Astotara Satashri Srimad Abhay Charana Ravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajakacarya Ashtatara Shata Shri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Antaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Nara Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Shinvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridyantasto Hyabhadrani Vidunoti Saritsatam. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma Supersoul in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, like all you are doing, and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Srimad Bhagavatam 3:25-25. Satam prasangan mama virya samvido bhavanti hritkarna rasayana katha tajjoshanadashva pavargavartmani shraddharatir bhaktir anukrameshyati. In the association of pure devotees, discussion of the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and the heart. By cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation, and thereafter he is freed, and his attraction becomes fixed. Then real devotion and devotional service begin. Welcome everyone to the Bhagavatam class this morning. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 16, Text 33. And let me just make sure I have it here. Tata samadhaya manomanishaya Bhashaitat pratilabdhavagasav Niyamya sarvendriyabayavartanam Jagadgurum satvata shastra vigraham Tata samadhaya manomanishaya Bhashaitat pratilabdhavagasav Niyamya sarvendriyabayavartanam Jagadgurum satvata shastra vigraham Tata samadhaya manomanishaya Babhashaitat pratilabdhavagaso Niyamya sarvendriyabhyavartanam Jagadgurum satvata shastra vigraham. Please repeat. Tata samadhaya manomanishaya Babhashaitat pratilabdhavagaso Niyamya sarvendriyabhyavartanam Jagadgurum satvata shastra vigraham Tata samadhaya manomanishaya Babhashaitat pratilabdhavagaso Niyamya sarvendriyabhyavartanam Jagadgurum satvata shastra vigraham. Tata samadhaya manomanishaya pratilabdhavagaso niyamya sarvendriyabhayavartanam jagadgurum satvata shastra vigraham. Online?
Tata samadhaya mano manishaya
Tata samadhaya manomanishaya
Pabhasha etat pratilabdhavagasa
vibhashayetat pratilabdhavagaso
Niyam yasavendriya bhaya vartanam
niyamya sarvendriyabhayavartanam
Jagadurum satvata shastra vigraham.
jagadgurum satvata shastra vigraham. Anyone else? So again, we're reading from 6:16-33 of Srimad Bhagavatam. Word for word, tataha, thereafter. Samadhaya, controlling. Manaha, the mind. Manishaya, by his intelligence. Abhasha, spoke. Etat, this. Pratilabdha, recovering. Vak, speech. Vaso, that one. King Chitraketu. Niyamya, controlling. Sarva Indriya, of all the senses. Bahya, external. Vartanam, the wandering. Jagat Gurum, who is the spiritual master of everyone. Sadhana, of devotional service. Shastra, of the holy scriptures. Vigraham, the personified form. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. Thereafter, by controlling his mind with his intelligence, and thus restricting his senses from external engagements, he recovered suitable words with which to express his feelings. Thus he began offering prayers to the Lord, who is the personification of the Holy Scriptures, the Satvata Samhitas, like the Brahma Samhita and the Narada Pancharatra, and who is the spiritual master of all. He offered his prayers as follows. Purport. One cannot offer prayers to the Lord with mundane words. One must become spiritually advanced by controlling the mind and senses. Then he can find suitable words to offer in prayers to the Lord. Quoting the following verse from the Padma Purana, Srila Sanatana Goswami forbids us to sing any song not sung by authorized devotees. Avaishnava Mukodgirnam Utam Harikatamritam Shravanam Naiva Kartavyam Sarapochistam Yatapaya. The words or songs of a person not fixed in Vaishnava behavior, not strictly following the rules and regulations, and chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, should not be accepted by pure devotees. The words Satvata Shastra Vigraham indicate that the Satchid Ananda body of the Lord can never be accepted to be made of Maya. Devotees do not offer prayers to the Lord in an imaginary form. The existence of the Lord's form is supported by all Vedic literature. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitanscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Translation. This is about Chitraketu Maharaj. Thereafter, by controlling his mind with his intelligence and thus restricting his senses from external engagements, he recovered suitable words with which to express his feelings. Thus he began offering prayers to the Lord, who is the personification of the Holy Scriptures, the Satvata Samhitas like the Brahma Samhita and the Narada Pancharatra, and who is the spiritual master of all. He offered his prayers as follows. So I'd like to welcome everyone who is here. We have in person Muktavanya Prabhu, Jagannath Pandit Prabhu, and remind me of your name, Mataji? Aradhita, beautiful. And online we have Mother Yashoda, Taraka Prabhu, Mother Chintamani, Yashodev Prabhu, Parameshwari Prabhu, Ajamil Prabhu, Vilakishori Prabhu, Krishnamai Prabhu, James Prabhu, and Agari Krishna Prabhu. So welcome everyone. It's such an auspicious gathering of devotees this morning. And let us get into our class today. So here we see that Chitraketu Maharaj wanted to offer prayers to the Lord, but he could not find suitable words. So yesterday, Muktavanya Prabhu was speaking about text 32, and we've heard that Chitraketu Maharaj was choked up in ecstasy, and he moistened the resting place of the Supreme Lord's lotus feet with his tears of love and affection. And for a considerable time, he was unable to utter any of the letters of the alphabet to offer the Lord suitable prayers. And I was listening to someone who was giving a class on this text 33, and it was very interesting because he was expressing that before Chitraketu Maharaj was lamenting, and you can kind of imagine that he must have been crying tears of lamentation. And now Chitraketu Maharaj is crying tears of love and affection, and he's tears of ecstasy now. So it's kind of beautiful to see that full circle. We can try to use our own tears in service of Krishna and spiritual things rather than crying over material things. So anyway, he finally became able to express his words to Krishna and express prayers to Krishna by the mercy of the Lord. It says by controlling his mind with his intelligence in text 33, and thus restricting his senses from external engagements, he recovered suitable words. So we're hearing that by controlling his mind and senses, thus he was able to speak prayers to the Lord. So this controlling the intelligence, which controls the mind, which controls the senses. And so we can also think about purifying our mind and senses and enable us to offer prayers to the Lord. We can purify our mind and senses and intelligence through devotional service, through engaging all the five senses in the association of Krishna. seeing the Lord with our eyes, using our tongue to chant Hare Krishna and taste Krishna Prasad, hugging the Lord's devotees with our hands, or driving or doing any task like we were talking about last Friday, hearing the chanting of the holy name and the Bhagavatam classes and the songs, as well as smelling the beautiful offerings to the Lord like flowers and incense. And something that this text reminds us of is Dhruva Maharaj's experience as well, because Dhruva Maharaj, he also found himself unable to offer prayers to the Lord whenever he was in the face of the Lord, but the Lord touched him with his conch that enabled him to be inspired to chant prayers to the Lord. Some of the Lord's prayers are that Dhruva Maharaj's prayers are actually as follows. There's some beautiful prayers in Canto 4, Chapter 9. I'll just read a few of them. In text 3, Dhruva Maharaj was drinking the vision of the Lord. So it says that Drigbhyam prapashyan prapiban ivar bakash. Dhruva Maharaj looked upon the Lord as if he were drinking the Lord with his eyes. And this beautiful part about drinking was really catching my attention because um, I was just listening to a talk by Vaisheshika Prabhu on YouTube, 8-minute talk. I recommend to listen to it. It's called How to Overcome Apathy and Distraction in Chanting. How to overcome apathy and distraction in chanting. Put that in the chat. And he was talking about this word apathy and how in the Harinam Chintamani Haridas Thakur is talking about that one who's trying to chant with purity, there's two afflictions that come, which is apathy and distraction. And this apathy is, welcome, Brother Jambavati, Haribol. And this apathy is like you're thinking that it's without feeling. So it comes from pathos, which is emotion and feeling. So this apathy can come when we're chanting. And the recommendation that's given for uh, combating this is that you basically chant in with other Vaishnavas. You sit and chant with other Vaishnavas and chant in their association. And Vaisheshika Prabhu was talking about how when we chant with other Vaishnavas, we notice that they have a feeling when they're chanting. And it's quite natural if you see someone else eating something and they're getting some enjoyment. It's like, oh, let me have some. I want some of that too. And the feeling starts to come by association of devotees. He was describing that in the past he's chanted with some advanced devotees. And one of them, he said that it was like when that devotee was chanting, it sounds like he's drinking a beverage that's so sweet that Vaisheshika Prabhu would like to drink some too. So I was just thinking about this. I had an experience as well where in my own life where I was at a Mangalarti in Gita Nagari recently, and there were some devotees visiting from out of town. And there was this one devotee, and as he sat there, he just had a smile on his face while he was chanting his japa, and it was like perpetual. And I was just like, want to be smiling in my relationship in my japa with Krishna as well. I was like, this is so beautiful. So that's just a little bit about that. Yeah, so beautiful. And Dhruva Maharaj continues, we were reading from 493. He continues his prayers after he's, been inspired to pray by the grace of the Lord, by the Lord touching his conch to his forehead. He continues his prayers in the purport of 494. He says, the personality of Godhead, being situated in everyone's heart, specifically gives a devotee intelligence to describe him. So we're seeing how Triciketya Maharaj was enabled to pray to the Lord by the Lord's grace, as well as Dhruva Maharaj was also able to pray to the Lord by the Lord's grace. And then in the purport to 495, the next text, Prabhupada says, Dhruva Maharaj attained this perfection not by acting hastily, but by patiently executing the order of his spiritual master. And therefore he became so successful that he saw the Lord face to face. Now he was further enabled by the causeless mercy of the Lord to offer fitting prayers to the Lord. To glorify or offer prayers unto the Supreme, one needs the Lord's mercy. One cannot write to glorify the Lord unless one is endowed with his causeless mercy. So I just wanted to highlight some of the words here, like patiently and enabled and endowed and empowered, because here we're seeing that he was patient in executing the order of his spiritual master. He wasn't acting hastily, and he was then enabled and endowed with the causeless mercy of the Lord to offer prayers in glorification of the Lord. We can also likewise become empowered to offer our prayers and use everything, like everything that we want to offer to Krishna. We actually need his empowerment to even be able to do that. Um, and here we're seeing that it says to glorify or offer prayers unto the Supreme, one needs the Lord's mercy. One cannot write to glorify the Lord unless one is endowed with his causeless mercy. And Srila Prabhupada, he wanted us all to write. He says in a lecture in LA 1972, August 14th, that realization means you should write. Every one of you, what is your realization? So another part of this, we were talking about writing, but also the text is talking about songs. And we see in the text 33, our verse today, that Srila Prabhupada is writing that Srila Sanatana Goswami forbids us to sing any song not sung by authorized devotees. So we also see Srila Prabhupada uh, reminding us that we have the songs of the Acharyas. He writes in a letter in Vrindavan 1972, 12th of March, that no one should write songs of Krishna unless he is self-realized soul. That will spoil the value of the whole thing. But try to use your writing and singing talent, Krishna's preaching work, by writing articles, singing the kirtan, like that. So in our ISKCON society, we have our morning temple program. We sing the Acharya songs. We already have the established method to do that. And in our personal lives, let's also practice. We can write to glorify the Lord through His empowerment. Let us purify our lives so we can be qualified to write and speak about the Lord. And when we write, let us quote the Acharyas, as the writers before us have also done. As we see Srila Prabhupada, he was always quoting and mentioning Acharyas that came before him. So empowered through the mercy of the spiritual master has told us all to write. So that is another thing we can take away. And another person we see in scripture who also was empowered to pray to the Lord is Prahlad Maharaj. So he also was wanting to say prayers to the Lord, and Lord Nrsingadev put his hand on Prahlad's head, and that inspired him to chant the name, to say prayers to the Lord. So in a chapter summary of Bhagavatam, to the chapter Prahlad pacifies Lord Nrsingadev with prayers, Srila Prabhupada writes, Lord Nrsingadev, being very much affectionate toward Prahlad Maharaj, put his hand on Prahlad's head, and because of being personally touched by the Lord, Prahlad Maharaj immediately achieved Brahma Jnana, spiritual knowledge. Thus he offered his prayers to the Lord in full spiritual knowledge and full devotional ecstasy. I also wanted to note that in the verse text today, it says Samhita. I'll read exactly what it says. That thus he, Chittiketu Maharaj, began offering prayers to the Lord, who is the personification of the Holy Scriptures, the Satvata Samhitas, like the Brahma Samhita and the Narada Pancharatra. And so the Samhita means like Vedic literature or a body of knowledge of Vedic literature, and Satvata means pure. So it's just referencing like Brahma Samhita, which is Brahma's prayers, and Narada Pancharatra, which is uh, spoken by Narada. Just wanted to identify those kind of foreign words in there, in Sanskrit. And also some nice Sanskrit we can take a look at from this text today is Tataha Samadhaya Mano Manishaya. This is the first line of the text. And it says Samadhaya Mano Manishaya. Samadhaya is referring to controlling, and Manaha, the mind, Manishaya, by his intelligence. So we're trying to control the mind by our intelligence, like we hear from the Katha Upanishad. We were talking about this last week, last Friday when I gave class, that the Katha Upanishad 133/4 says, Atmanam ratitam vidhi, shariram ratam evacha, buddhim tu saratim vidhi, mana pragraham evacha, indriyani hayanahor, vishayans teshu gocharan, atmendriya manoyuktam, bhoktatyatyur manishanaha. So it's saying that the individual is the passenger in the chariot of the body, and the mind, the intelligence is the driver. The mind is the driving instrument, and the senses are the horses. And the self is thus the enjoyer or sufferer in the association of the mind and senses. So we're hearing here how samadhaya manomanishaya, controlling the mind by the intelligence. There's also this nice explanation of that in terms of controlling the mind and senses that I heard. Like the mind is the store of the impressions that we get from all our senses. And this was described by Rupesh Prabhu in UK, that it's like your hand, like the center of your hand is the mind, and your five fingers are the senses, and all of them are leading, the impressions that come in through your senses are all leading into going straight to the center of your palm, where's the mind, and all the impressions are coming there that you experience in your life. We want to bring those impressions of Krishna consciousness into those. We've had so many impressions from immemorial of material impressions in our life, but we want to start bringing those to spiritual impressions. Another person who was able to offer prayers to the Lord is Gajendra. Um, well, he's an elephant, but um, he um, he remembered a prayer from his last life when he was in the jaws of a crocodile and fighting the crocodile for a long time. He was able, by the mercy of the Lord, to have remembrance, to remember a prayer from his last life and be able to pray to the Lord. So we see in Bhagavad Gita 15:15, Sarvasya chaham hridisani visto, matas mritirgyanam apohanam cha, vedaischa sarverahameva vedyo, vedanta kridveda, vedeva chaham. So Sarvasya chaham hridisani visto, matas mritirgyanam apohanam cha. All knowledge and remembrance and forgetfulness are coming from the Lord. So we see that the Lord is offering us the ability to remember him in times and to give him prayers, giving us the knowledge to give him prayers. I was listening to a class by Radhanath Swami on forgetting Krishna, the greatest crisis. Not forgetting, but forgetting Krishna, the greatest crisis. And he was talking about this pastime of Gajendra Moksha, of the liberation of Gajendra. And one of the prayers of Gajendra, actually, Gajendra says, I beg to offer my respectful obeisances unto you. It's in Srimad Bhagavatam 8:3-13. He's saying, I beg to offer my obeisances to you, my respectful obeisances unto you. And I noticed Dhruva Maharaj also said something similar, which was, let me offer my respectful obeisances unto you in 496. And I thought this was just interesting verbiage because it's like even to approach, you have to even to approach to you have to beg to even approach, to even offer those obeisances. So just that humility that like, okay, can I please even like offer my obeisances to you? So I thought that was beautiful. We can even like think about that, this word beg. Um, I believe Vaisheshika Prabhu defines it as like asking earnestly. Maybe you got that from the dictionary. So it's like that earnest that we have when we're begging and asking, when we're going to see the Lord, we can like think of that earnestness when we're praying. Is earnestness the word? I'm not sure, but earnestly pray. Yes. So something I just wanted to talk about was if you'll indulge me, I wanted to read a little bit from Vandanam, which is what we're talking about today. And Vandanam means prayer. And there's this nice text, Vandanam, Krishna Conscious Handbook on Prayer by Satyarup Das Goswami. So Satyarup Goswami has his whole book on prayer. And if you indulge me, we can look at some of those because he talks about there's four major categories of prayer that we find. We find praise, thanksgiving, we find making requests, and also asking forgiveness. So he also talks about applying shastric prayers. as well as personal prayer. And he gives examples of the praise, the thanksgiving, the making requests, and the asking forgiveness in texts like verses from the Bhagavatam that people have made in those categories, as well as us doing that on our own in our own personal prayer. And he also talks about earnestness is correct. Thank you, Taraka Prabhu. That is a word. Oh my gosh. Um, our resident scribe, Mother Jambavati, says yes, Haribol. Thank you, Taraka Prabhu. So, and we also want to also pray for not just ourselves, but also for others. So in terms of preaching, when we're trying to serve others through preaching, we can also pray for them. And we can also look at the prayers of these Vaishnavas. And what happens is in these prayers are often describing things that are philosophy and describing the Lord. So just by spending time with those prayers, we can also get more language for which to use when we're preaching and explaining the Lord to people and explaining the instructions of the scripture to people. And also we understand that the holy name, the Maha Mantra is also a prayer. We're saying, "Oh Lord, oh energy of the Lord, oh Lord, oh reservoir of pleasure, please engage me in your service." And that is the ultimate prayer we always pray. And so we want to use our words in service. So just like we're praying, in terms of preaching and in terms of offering prayers to others, there's this nice text, CC Adi 942, that says, Etava janma safalyam dehinam iha dehishu pranayar arter diavacha shreya acharanam sada. So pranayar arter diavacha, using your life, your words, all your intelligence and wealth, perform welfare activities for the benefit of others. We also talk about inattentiveness in chanting as well. So we want to try to pray and perform japa and kirtan prayerfully. We want to bring that prayerful mood into all our services and try to pray throughout the day. So I'm just going to read some from here, and it'll mostly just be, I was just introducing what I'm going to read, but it'll just be his words that I'm basically reading off. Um, so Satrup Das Maharaj, he says Satrup Das Goswami, so I'm putting the Das in there, but I think he was just doing that as humility, but it's Satrup Goswami. Oh, is that his whole full name actually? Okay, Satrup Das Goswami. Thank you, Mr. Vanya Prabhu. So, yeah, I didn't want to say it wrong. Um, so we hear uh, in this verse about Gajendra, there's a verse 831. It is stated that he concentrated the mind or consciousness in the heart. There's this word samadhaya again. We were talking about samadhi, controlling. Samadhaya manohridi. And this seems to be the essential point regarding prayer. Whether one recites the Uttama Shlokas, prayers from the scripture, chants japa, or praise to the Lord from his personal thoughts and feelings, it should be done wholeheartedly and not mechanically. Brahma also, these expressions of worship usually also carry philosophical purport, as we were saying, and thus to hear them is to receive an education in the science of God consciousness. Prayers as directed sentiments of experience. Prayers as direct statements of experience are also vijnanam, direct realization, and if we receive them submissively, we too can receive vijnanam. Brahma also spoke the Brahma Samhita with its adoring stanza Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Prayer is perhaps the major element in the Bhagavatam prayers. Praise is perhaps the major element in the Bhagavatam prayers. The Supreme Lord is also pleased by such prayers. In Bhagavatam 6:9, 46 to 7, he says that he's pleased, and he also says, such a devotee is fully purified by offering prayers in full knowledge. This is the source of devotional service to me. Thanksgiving, Prahlad Maharaj thanked the Lord for sending his pure devotee Narada to become Prahlad's spiritual master in Bhagavatam 7:9-28. Prayers of request. Although in Srimad Bhagavatam the praise element is more dominant, at the end of a series of praises, a devotee in need will often make a request to the Lord. Some of these requests appear to be material, and some are requests for pure devotional service, as exemplified in Bhagavatam 10:14-30 and Bhagavatam 8:3-19. We can take these Uttama shlokas and join the exalted devotees in their plea. When we enter the spirit of a Shastic prayer, it is as if we are saying, O great devotee, you please pray for me. You know the Lord far better than I do. As you ask for forgiveness, let me do that also, praying with you in your stotra. Personal prayer. By the term personal prayer, I mean a confidential revealing of the mind to Krishna in conversation, not using prepared or memorized statements, but speaking spontaneously. The main topic of this prayer is one's desire to render loving service, render the Lord loving service. What does Prabhupada say about this type of prayer, this personal prayer? In addition, Prabhupada says, in addition to giving and receiving in the execution of devotional service, one has to submit to Krishna whatever distress or confidential problem he has. One has to submit to Krishna whatever distress or confidential problem he has. He should say, Krishna, I am suffering in this way. I have fallen in this tossing ocean of material illusion. Kindly pick me up. And in a walking conversation, this is really nice. Prabhupada said, oh, that is natural for the fools because they cannot think of it, that one can talk with God. But God says, Tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti. After giving up this body, the devotees come to me. Then what will you do there? So he's talking about in the spiritual world, what are you going to do there? You're going to talk with Krishna. And the devotee said, but we are so insignificant. Why should God waste his time talking with us? Prabhupada, yes, because you are his sons. Although you are insignificant, you are God's sons. So he likes to talk with his sons, just like a small child. Everyone knows that he cannot talk. Still, Father tries to make him talking to enjoy. We can play, for example, My dear Lord Krishna, I wish to praise you and worship you. I know that Lord Brahma states that you are the Ishvara Parama Krishna, and you yourself declare in Bhagavad Gita that no truth is beyond you. I also wish to worship you, and I am pleased to do so every day when I see you in our temple as Sri Sri Radha Damodar. Please accept my humble obeisances and allow me to worship you always, and to spread the glories by distributing Prabhupada's books. We wouldn't imagine trying to develop a friendship with a valuable friend by only speaking to him with canned sentiments recited from text. And neither would our friend want to hear us only read to him in that way. As Prabhupada said, even if our talking is babyish, Krishna wants to hear from us, because we are his sons and daughters. Therefore, in honesty, we may begin a prayer session with broken words like, My dear Krishna, my dear Lord Krishna, I am distracted today by what X said to me, and my body is also sick, so I don't feel much like praying. But please help me. I really do want to serve you if I had sufficient spiritual strength. It may be harder to thank Krishna when we are feeling distressed, but we have learned from the Shastra that this will be a test of our devotion. We can thank him for sending Srila Prabhupada in the world, and we can thank him for appearing in the form of the Hare Krishna mantra. Thanks for material things is also proper. Asking forgiveness, we can forgive him, ask him to forgive us for our past misdeeds. We can pray, please give me the strength to serve you. We can say, My dear Lord, I don't want to be so envious of other devotees, but it keeps coming. Please help me. Please protect my vows. Please, I want to be a devotee. Let me be a devotee. We have spoken of personal prayers, but another consideration is prayers that we make for the needs of others. A Vaishnava should be compassionate. This is expressed through preaching, and so it may be done through private prayers. Whatever good things we wish for ourselves, we should consciously and deliberately ask them for others. Something that's important here is Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Prabhupada quotes Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Nama Kara Bahira Haya Nama Nahi Haya. Merely reciting the external syllables of the holy name does not mean that one is actually chanting the holy name. So we need to pray prayerfully. It's a really deep one. He talks about Bhaktivinoda Thakur analyzes three kinds of inattentiveness: indifference, laziness, and distraction. While chanting japa daily, if his taste will be elsewhere, he will show indifference to the name if his taste is elsewhere. In laziness, we allow our minds to remain sluggish or we even fall asleep. The fault of distraction is that we are actually attracted to woman, wealth, prestige, etc., and so we become inattentive to our own calls upon the Supreme Lord in his name form. So the advice, again, Bhaktivinoda Thakur's advice to counter this pramada, this madness, uh, meaning inattention and carelessness, is to take association of Vaishnavas who are properly chanting in a place sheltered from the material influence. Yes, thank you so much for hearing these We want to chant and pray prayerfully and chant kirtan prayerfully. And finally, there's this question and answers, and it says, what would be the most pleasing prayer to Lord Krishna? And what is the most pleasing prayer to Prabhupada? Mars writes, again, we can learn this from them. They have phrased it in various ways, but the essence of the best prayer is, please let me love you. Please give me the strength to serve you. O energy of the Lord, O Lord, please pick me up and engage me in your service. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we're so blessed that uh, although he's not Blackish, Lord Chaitanya came as a Supreme Personality of Godhead to bring us this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. All right. Thank you. Any questions, comments, corrections, concerns? Otherwise, we can keep reading from. Narka Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you
Hare
for a
Krishna.
wonderful class. So nice. Uh, so our power of speaking or writing is meant for the glorification of Krishna. Um, can you tell me something about the glorification of Krishna's devotees?
Could you explain your question a little bit more?
Yeah, glorification of Krishna, of course, in prayers and in so many ways is um, important and necessary, and it is um, the essential activity of the soul. Um, we try to please Krishna by our prayers, but but to offer words of glorification of Krishna's devotees is also part of the process, um, and also very pleasing to Krishna. Krishna is very pleased when we glorify his devotees. Um, and so I just wanted to hear something about, any thoughts that you might have about glorifying or praising the Lord's devotees.
Mm. Um, Something that comes to mind is, thank you for your comment, is um, just like if you give me a compliment, it's different than if you give my mom a compliment. And so just hearing that you are praising my mom gives me more joy than you praising me because she's so dear to me. So just like we're all dear to if you say something mean about his devotees or if you say something in praise of the devotees, it means so much to him. I could say a little bit more, but what do you think of that so far?
That's wonderful. I'm I'm inspired to hit the golden buzzer. I'm
Sorry?
gonna I'm gonna hit the golden buzzer and put a little something in the chat. You can disregard this, but I thank you for your wonderful class. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
He's just glorifying you and saying that he's going to hit the golden buzzer. You hit the golden buzzer by answering the question. So he's just happy.
Oh, good. Pleasing the devotees. Oh my goodness, he put a poem in the chat or something. Wow. Okay, Tarek, should I read this to the devotees? Maybe I don't know. Anyway, we have some comments in the chat I'll share with uh, the devotees. Agari Krishna Prabhu said, thank you, Devi, for an enlightening class. Yashadev Prabhu said, Jai, such an encouraging discourse, especially about chanting and praying to the Lord. Thank you. Parameshri said, Jai Janavatsala, such a mesmerizing, beautiful, heartfelt, and inspiring class. Yashadev Prabhu put in a comment in the chat about Srimad Bhagavatam 3:28-18. The glory of the Lord is always worth singing, for his glories enhance the glories of his devotees. One should therefore meditate upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead and upon his devotees. One should meditate on the eternal form of the Lord until the mind becomes fixed. That's perfect. That speaks to what Tarika was saying. Wow. So the glory of the Lord is always worth singing, for his glories enhance the glories of his devotees. One should therefore meditate upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead and upon his devotees. So both meditate on the Lord and on the Lord's devotees. One should meditate on the eternal form of the Lord until the mind becomes fixed. 3:28-18. That's beautiful. There's also, I mean, all I'm thinking about is more things about glorifying the Lord. I know we were trying to talk about glorifying the Lord's devotees, but also we can check out Bhagavatam 10:14 is a really nice one about glorification of the Lord, and also um, Bhagavatam 1:2-15. If you want to write those down, that also really good. There's another comment. Okay, so I don't know if I should read this out loud. It's in praise of Jana Vatsala Devi Dasi. I don't know. It's a poem he wrote. I don't know if I should read that out loud.
Perhaps I should read it. It wouldn't be embarrassing for you to read it. In praise of Janavatsala Devi Dasi. In Radha Damodar's gardens where the sadhus tread, a lotus blooms with heart so red. Her voice a stream of kirtan's grace, a gentle smile upon her face. With heart that melts for young and old, she speaks of Krishna, wise and bold. In verse and shastra she delights, her memory keen, her thoughts are bright. A heart so kind, a voice so pure, in Sangha sweet, her friends feel sure that Krishna's mercy, vast and wide, in her has chosen to reside. O Janavatsala, true and bright, may you shine on in Krishna's light, a soul whose love for holy sound brings blessings to all the hearts around. Hare Krishna.
Oh, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Tarka. That's inspiring me to make prayers, poems about other devotees. Mother Janabadi said we want copies of that. So it's so inspiring for me to try to do that as well. Maybe I can try to write one about you, Tarka, give me some homework. Oh, that's right. Mother Janabadi is reminding that you wrote a beautiful one about Bhakti Tirtha Swami on the occasion of his Vyasa Puja. We would also like a copy of that one. Yeah, she's saying you're our resident poet laureate. Oh, wow. Agari Krishna Prabhu said, indeed, straight to Las Goloka for the live shows.
I have a question, Janavatsala. Jai Hare Krishna. Thank you for your inspiring sastric and practical class. How would you respond to the question, and you really read nicely what Mara said about prayer. Two things. Sometimes devotees don't feel comfortable to pray because they don't know what to say. And then sometimes, despite hearing information otherwise, devotees can still feel, I don't have the right to pray to Krishna. I should just, like chant the Maha Mantra and that's enough. So how would you respond to both of those? Not knowing how to pray and not feeling that you have the right to pray.
So for one, Srila Prabhupada has encouraged us to pray. Reveal any, it was one of the comments in the text. Sorry. You reveal, Krishna, I'm suffering in this way, please help me. And like we were saying, even if it's babyish, the Lord wants to hear from us. He wants us to talk to him, just like you talk with a friend. we just reveal what's going on in our heart, the Lord wants to hear from us as well. Yes, there were some doubts raised in this book also, like people saying like, don't we just only need to pray to the, we can just use the holy name as our prayer, but we can also just share it. I mean, you might not know what to say, but sometimes maybe that person could try journaling. Sometimes that helps get out whatever you can't think about saying, whenever you're trying to think it up in your mind. Um, you can just think, you can start writing like, I don't know what to say. And then from there, things just start to come. Like maybe you say like, I don't feel the right to pray to you. Like you can even say that to Krishna. Um, you can ask him to help you and grow in your prayer with him and ask him like, please help me get this answer to this doubt I have. And also I want to share this other doubt. It says in the book, those who are not confined in prayer sometimes remark that since God already knows everything about us, why bother to tell him? Although he knows, he is pleased if we use our free will to spend time with him, to be affectionate with him, and to pray to him to increase our desires for loving service. Krishna wants us to be happy in a loving relationship with him, and that can only take place if we use our will to approach him, which includes conversing with him. Prabhupada said, then what will you do there? You'll talk or not talk. So when you're in the spiritual world, spending time when you're in a relationship with people, you talk to them. So prayer is just conversing with Krishna. There's a definition of prayer at the beginning of this book that says, basically, pray to address God or a deity, especially with devout petition, to request something fervently, to implore. Prayer, a set of words used in praying, and earnest entreaty. So it's literally just talking, conversing. How is that? Would you like to, does that address, would you like to hear more?
No, thank you. That was very wonderful. Thank you. It's inspiring me to go deeper in my prayer life today. Thank you.
Mother Prajna said, Haribol Tharkar Guru, it's so amazing to have such an amazing poet. It's so awesome to have such an amazing poet in our association. Thank you, John Vasula Devi. I'm always inspired and encouraged by your Sanskrit ease in explaining the verse. Anyone else has any comments? Any questions? Nice conversation, devotees. I'm inspired. Just preparing for this class helped me to start praying right in my Java, trying to sing prayerfully with the feeling. We'll chant. Wow, we might actually be able to end at 8 o'clock today. Do I need to go into the other room, or do we? Someone let me know. Krishna, I think Krishna made time go slower because he knew I wanted to put all this info in here. The devotees wanted to share. Krishna is time. Kalo Kalosmiyaham. Damani Prabhu.
Yeah, sure. So you shouldn't prayers by someone who's not a pure devotee. But even from the very beginning, 26 Second Avenue, the sons that start from very old back to Godheads that Mother Teresa the other day. And from the very beginning, devotees were writing poems and poems and to monks to Krishna and writing about Krishna. And Prabhupada accepted. I remember once he was Prabhupada say one time, he said, all my disciples are pure devotees. Maybe not so advanced, but they're pure devotees. I mean, any devotee who is sincerely practicing, following the regulative principles and serving their spiritual masters, considered to be in that category. Not that we don't have to make a lot of progress, but so it doesn't have to be Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Lochan Das Thakur, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, any prayer by any sincere, humble obedient disciple, devotee, and he was worthy to heal and chant. And as far as the praying for others, that Bhakti Tirtha Swami was praying famously for taking the pain of so many other conditioned souls on its own self so they could free.
So beautiful. Did you guys hear that online what Muktabani Prabhu said? Radha Damodar is about to open. Shri Shri Radha Damodar ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.